Welcome back to the drug-aware Margaret River Pro. We just crowned Tyler Wright the champion of 2016, and we still have round 5 action to get through before we crown a men's champ later on in the waiting period. Former world champ Gabriel Medina hits the lineup with last year's Rookie of the Year, Italo Ferreira. And standing by in round 5 heat 4, Kaiwa Belly will take on Jordy Smith. Joe Chappelle alongside Martin Potter, a former world champ, as we're still feeling that really cool energy when you see a surfer like Tyler completely dominate the final against Courtney Conlog. And now, definitely, Medina and Ferreira will be inspired by that last performance from the Australian.
How could you not be, Joe? That was immaculate surfing from Tyler Wright. Just saving her best for last. I mean, that's exactly what you got to do. But let's get back into the men's right now. Medina on his backhand. He's got his work cut out for him. Italo Ferreira is no slouch, that's for sure. And he's one of those fighters. Medina just ripping some big turns on that wave there. Nice little opening wave for him. And while we're at that break watching Tyler get chaired up, this was Italo Ferreira flying down the line here. Look at this left-handed, Joe. We haven't seen a lot of these. Just crazy surfing from Italo. The lefts we have seen have been good scores though, haven't they, Joe? So this guy's on his way to a really good score here. Italo Ferreira, the surfer in blue. Couple of crazy little turns there, a bit of a whip on his front side, and still milking this one all the way through the inside. Just a real powerful, solid kid.
Now in the backhand attack, Ferreira getting one big explosive turn. Quick little whip into the pocket. Now he's out. So quick start to round 5 heat number 3. Medina opens with a 5.17. Italo Ferreira spends a lot of time on his forehand whip. You always talk to locals about all the heats they've watched. There's some fans here that have seen every single event go down here at Margaret River over the years, going all the way back to the 80s. There's this one famous ride that Tom Curran caught, a crazy misto left that took him all the way down to the beach to the river mouth. Do you remember that wave, Potts?
Yeah, I did. I do, sorry. It was a pretty big wave. That day was solid. Yeah, Curran took off on a big wide one and ended up down at the river mouth. So I think he won that heat. Length of ride counted back then, so that doesn't get any longer than that.
That's right. Understood the formula quite well. Tom Curran had that mystique about him. He sort of would try to hide from the spotlight. Something that's really hard to do when you're a world champ. Medina found that out real quick when he won his world title. Now 22. The big story for Medina last season was putting himself in a fighting shot to win a second world title. This time last season, we were talking about how hard it is to back it up. We're going through all the history of world champs and realizing how sometimes it can be your worst year after you finally live out your dream. And Potts, you were familiar with that story.
Very much so, Joe, very much so. It's tough, you know, it's tough to come back and, you know, it's almost like starting from scratch again. You've got to, you know, really dig deep. You've got to hit the reset button. You've got to just sort of reinvent yourself, so to speak. And the thing that's really hard to do is to not have that mindset of defending a world title. It's trying to win another one. And that's what a lot of guys get caught up in, as well as myself. No one can take that away from you. So you put that away and learn how to win another one.
So looking at the 21-minute mark, Ferreira's got the lead off Medina so far, just with small scores though. A 3.5 on his last. That was that right that ran through the inside, got a couple of turns off. And now Medina sits with priority to try to answer. Big opportunity to move on to the quarterfinals for both of these Brazilian goofy foots. As you see the horizon stacked with amazing waves. The conditions have improved throughout the day, just like we had in the forecast. The wind even got a better direction here, just grooming the open face. Italo, underneath the priority of Medina, has found himself a little wave. Well overhead as he starts off with a backside wrap. It's going a little bit full and fat on the face, and he'll end up with a miss hit on the rebound. Good for one turn. Now the former world champ under the lip hook. Medina wraps it out front, and he'll end up carving his way out the back. So coming off the final, talking about big 9s and extra range scores. This one starting off with a little warm-up start, matching each other with 5 rangers. And now we're down to 20 minutes to go.
Yeah, just some small scores here just to kick things off. Just these guys just feeling it out. Obviously been sitting around waiting pretty much most of the day for this heat, so it's going to take them a wave or two just to get that confidence back up, dust out those butterflies. This is an elimination round to see who goes through to the quarterfinals, which is going to be a good result.
As we look back in history with these two, we know Italo was just on tour last season for the first time. They had one matchup, and Italo was able to take out the former world champion. Italo often compared to the rookie class last season, but he got a lot of chances to surf against guys with world titles. Came out of the gates on the Gold Coast with a win over Kelly. And that wasn't just his only big effort. Took out Kelly at Cloud Break when it was 6 to 8 foot. Those are some of his best results. We celebrated the high performance act. We sort of predicted that might come true, but no one really realized how talented he was going to be in really hollow waves.
You know, and that's what he said he was going to do well in. He said, you know, he made it quite clear that, hey, I want to do good in waves of consequence. Medina up and riding.
Medina checking out this big section rooftop float into the flats. A risky maneuver to kick off that wave, but he'll go down.
An interesting roll of the dice right there, but Medina realizing that there wasn't a lot of wall on that wave, so had he gone down and around that section, all the scoring potential would have been gone. So a risky opening maneuver for Medina, deciding to come in, get on the jet ski, and go back around. So saving that energy, Joe.
So still 18 minutes on the clock. The matchup where Italo beat Medina was back in Portugal last season. So we check out this float again.
Yeah, look at that mid-face turn. So he didn't go all the way to the bottom. He realized there wasn't a lot of wall on this wave, so he had to throw caution to the wind. He had to go for something special. The critical drop right there, just a little bit off balance. That front foot, you could see the front foot got disengaged from the board, and when it reconnected, it was too much on the rail. His balance went out from him, and if Medina's not making maneuvers like that, no one is.
Such a heavy impact on that backhand float. Medina known for pulling off anything and anything when he needs it the most. Had one of the craziest moves last season. That gigantic inverted full road at France where he went on to victory. And that was crucial in putting him back in the world title race last season. As we had 6 guys in contention for a world title heading into the Pipe Masters. Watching this now is Ferreira. Nice groomed, glassy open face. Lip line hack coming down with more energy. Snaps it off the top. Perfect vertical placement of his board off the top again, and he'll find a closeout section to work with.
Wow. Well, that board turned upside down on him right there. He's got to be super careful. Even just that little thing right there that he did, that board flipped over on him. He was right in the bottom of the board, then flipped it back again. I mean, this kid's a super freak, and when you see surfing like that he just produced, just that smooth, clean, yet radical approach. Let's have a look at this wave here. Nice solid wave for Italo. Nice opening maneuvers. You've got to get that first one straight away. Real solid guy. You can see he's got that real square sort of stance. And what that does is it just allows him that really good solid base. He's got that low center of gravity, little fist pump right there. And Italo Ferreira just about to lock in the first wave of consequence, Joe.
Italo locks in an 8.33. Now Medina needs an 8.66 to answer back. So now the judge is calling that last wave for Italo. Excellent range surfing, as he's hoping to stay undefeated over the former world champion. They're in the same generation. Medina qualified a bit earlier than Italo. Medina was right about 17 years of age, getting the call up to the top 34. Back when we had the mid-season rotation. Some people are asking about what happened to Medina. Why wasn't he Rookie of the Year when he had 2 wins on the call-up of the mid-season rotation? They wanted to wait for him to have a full year on tour. The next season was all about John Florence finishing in that top 5 picture, including a win for John back in Rio over Joel Parkinson.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it could have given both those guys Rookies of the Year, but it was such a crazy year, that half mid-year rotation. I'm glad it's not happening anymore.
Now Medina looking straight up vertical. Perfect timing on that opening snap as he's fighting back. Backside carve looking solid. Big section that grows in front of him. He attacks it. So now Medina on the comeback trail, putting a lot of energy into his moves. He needs an 8.66 to take the lead.
Yeah, this is a classic battle. Two young Brazilian goofy footers, both of them do not give up. I mean, these guys can manufacture scores out of average waves, but the waves are pumping at the moment, so we're just going to see them swing for the fences, really. I think we're pretty soon going to see one of these guys take to the air. That's for sure. Italo Ferreira cannot help himself. So as soon as that section does show itself, I think Italo's going to lock in the first air.
I love that about Italo Ferreira. Not afraid to launch and go for huge maneuvers when he's called upon. He doesn't even need a lip line. He can provide his own ramp, it seems. Medina had that act back on the qualifying series before he went on tour. He used to do so many airs in a single heat. It seems like he's adapted to the criteria big time on the championship tour as we see Medina's approach.
Yeah, Medina trying to get himself back in the heat. I love that beautiful tight snap there. Lost a little bit of balance, but you can see he's just keeping that board moving, pumping, trying to get something radical right there, and it's finishing off nicely. So it is definitely a step in the right direction. 6.67 for Gabriel Medina, now looking for a 7.17, so shutting that gap a little bit. Italo holding that 5.50. That's going to be gone here on this next exchange.
The waves are looking so fun. The swell is going to be peaking today as we see some solid sets moving out the back. The wind in a perfect direction, and Italo on a roll, already with a ton of board speed. Decides to redirect real quick, making the most of this open face. Nice high line backhand carve. Ferreira winding up for the finish, squares up vertically, finds himself a landing, avoids the rocks, and he'll keep fading to set up the ride on the jet ski. Ferreira looking to improve on a 5.5. Could have some more pressure on Medina in just a moment here.
Yeah, that's definitely going to better his 5.5. I mean, these two. This is a really good heat to watch, Joe, because both these guys catch a lot of waves in their heat. You know, they just don't stop. Medina's not going to want to give up on this one, that's for sure. Feeling like he's the guy that should win this. Italo Ferreira, a couple of nice little check turn, bottom turns there now. He sort of finds that nice clean section. What's he got for us? Big rail turn, so he's trying to set that rail, get that board moving, and then right here is where it goes nice and vertical. Italo Ferreira loves that vertical face, just gets that backside whip, brings that board around quicker than most. So he's on a little pintail, Timmy Patterson. Thing looks pretty good under his feet, Joe.
Now let's get a moment to catch up with runner-up of the drug-aware Margaret River Pro. Courtney Conlog is with Peter Mel.
Courtney, incredible performance all entire event. Came up a little bit short in that final, but you still will retain that Jeep Leaders jersey heading into Brazil. So pretty happy with your run through here, all of Australia.
Yeah, I think if I started the leg off knowing that I get these results, I would have been stoked. Obviously, I wanted the win, but really stoked for Tyler. She had a great performance in that heat, and I was just trying to get myself back in the game at the end there, and was really stoked I got a second shot, and yeah, she surfed really well. Really stoked to go in Brazil with the yellow.
If there's something you could replay in your mind in that heat, what would you have changed?
Having priority at the right time. I think there was one moment I didn't have priority and had to let her go, and that kind of just got the rhythm going for her. But yeah, other than that, that was probably the only room that I probably would have adjusted, but you never know that would cost you when that moment comes, you know. But I knew that wave was like going to be a high 8, and I was just going, uh-oh, there goes an 8. But yeah, really stoked for her, and really nice to have her on the steps now. She deserves it.
Well, congratulations on a job well done throughout this entire leg.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Pete Mel, and a very gracious world #1, Courtney Conlog. Missing out on a big title here, but she's got such a strong connection with Margaret River. She was last year's champ, a 2-time champ at the QS level. But had some really great words for Tyler Wright, saying that she deserves to have her name on the steps, and she was so solid in that performance. Tyler really didn't look like losing once she had that rhythm going. She got into the 9s, showing a lot of confidence, and now we'll head into Rio, where Tyler and Courtney have had a lot of success.
Yeah, they both had success there for sure. But when it comes to the finals, I think Tyler's got it over Courtney, right? Remember France a couple of years ago where Tyler was it like 4 nines, 4 waves into the 9-point range on the Goldie again, and then now here. So yeah, Tyler's making a habit of beating Courtney in the finals, but both those young ladies surfed amazing through this entire event. Definitely the cream rose to the top. Let's have a look at Medina's wave. Good solid wave, nice fading bottom turn, and have a look at that, just nice and vertical. Judges love that when you get that board straight up in the pocket. Very hard to do on your front side, so the goofy footers will take advantage of that situation. And again, Medina didn't quite ride out of that, so looking for a 7.74. That backside, that first turn was absolutely amazing. He makes things look so easy sometimes, Joe. He's got so much more power, and he's bulked up. He's got a lot more muscle, and he's making those turns look like easy.
It's really interesting just to follow the last couple of years for Gabriel Medina in his world title year, before we realized he was going to create history that season and be the first Brazilian world champion. You caught up with him. You went to his house and checked out his equipment and kind of got just to really hang out with him and his whole family. Has he changed a lot? Did his whole life change completely after his world title year? Is he about the same?
I think he's about the same. You know, you bump into him. He's still very humble. He's got a hell of a lot more Instagram followers, though. That's one thing that has changed. But, you know, I think that's a good thing with having Charlie around, and, you know, he travels with his family a lot. It just keeps things real. You know, you surround yourself with good people, and you realize that, hey, you know, I've won a world title. My life has changed in that respect, but that doesn't mean you've got to change as a person. And I think he's done a great job at maintaining that humbleness.
Well, this matchup is exciting. It's still 8 minutes to go, and we have another huge matchup to come, led by Jordy Smith, who's been putting up the biggest numbers along the way. We'll take a break. We'll be right back in the West after this. We are still enjoying the celebration of 40 years of competitive surfing. Looking back in history, we've had so many epic world title showdowns. Last 2 years have been very memorable, especially for the Brazilians. Medina creating history in 2014, being the first Brazilian world champion, and it remained the same the following season. Adriano de Souza was fired up with Medina's performance, and he took out the world title last year with a win out here at Margaret River, and also a win at the Pipe Masters against Medina in the final.
Yeah, I mean, it was the Rookie of the Year, the Triple Crown, the World Champion. It was like just give Brazil everything last year. That was amazing. And, you know, and I think it all has to do with what Medina did. You know, Medina made them believe. He opened the floodgates. You know, there's so much talent coming out of Brazil. It's crazy. I mean, they've got the passion, they've got the drive, they've got the talent, you know, and there's going to be a lot more Brazilians on tour, that's for sure. So everyone's going to have to pick their game up. Joe?
I'm always so impressed when you see new names like Ferreira as well, who knows the history, knows the story of our world champions, and he never backs down to a challenge. Even against Medina, we've seen them have some epic battles, even in the 3-man heats, but also that one-on-one heat in the quarters was fun to watch.
Do you think that, I think they're more passionate when they surf against each other rather than someone else. I think it's almost like they lose a little bit of that once they surf against, you know, I don't know, someone that they look up to, but when they surf against each other, it's almost like they want to beat each other way more than anything else. And I think that's that whole one-upmanship where, you know, I want to be the guy. I want to be the guy from Brazil that's the #1 guy. And at the moment, De Souza is that #1 guy. But I tell you what, there's kids like Italo Ferreira and Felipe Toledo that are just knocking on the door for that #1 place.
What's impressive how quickly they grow on tour, and just as professionals as well. When you look at the heat analyzer, you obviously the surfing improving, but also Italo's first ever post-heat interview. When you look back, it wasn't much he could share with us.
Yep.
And you see how much he's learned along the way. We're getting to know his personality. He's a super fun person to hang out with. Puts in a lot of time to work hard for these moments. And right now he still has the lead over Medina with 4 minutes to go as he's trying to make a quarterfinal against Cohandino later on in this event. You're talking about the similarities with these two, and it almost starts with their stance. The way they stand on the board, it looks really neutral, where they could land backwards, forwards, sideways, under the lip. It doesn't really seem to matter for these guys.
Yeah, and I think that's just the, you know, the new generation of surfer. You know, it's that whole air game. You know, that whole air game. It's being able to land backwards. It's being able to control your body through the air. And I think these guys both have that character in them.
Checking out the stance, what are you noticing here from Italo's Pots?
Yeah, just, you know, real strong, real low center of gravity, squats down a lot, and that's what, you know, enables him to pull crazy maneuvers off like that last one. So very similar with Gabriel Medina. Gabriel a lot taller than Italo though, so he sort of stands up a little taller. So every now and again he stands up a lot straighter compared to Italo Ferreira. Italo's constantly crouched down. He's constantly got that real squat stance, but it just makes it so dynamic. I mean, his strike rate with crazy radical turns and big floater airdrop maneuvers, he makes it look so easy.
You can see the approach on the finish. Always looks like he's got a big hammer to close this one out. Now as we transition back to live, here's an important wave for Medina. He'll fade the takeoff. Now go straight up vertical to start. A little warbly off the bottom, but he'll try to iron this one out on the inside track. Perfect connection on the backhand. Stomps over a section. Now this thing is going wide over by the rocks. He'll try to avoid it real quick, and he's staying light on his feet just to get the completion. He'll earn that one. But was it a 7.74 for a lead change?
That's a big score, Joe. I mean, there was a few little mistakes right there. You can see Medina says, hit it, Perry. Perry Hatchett on the helm of the jet ski right there. Let's have a look here, fading off the bottom. So he's trying to maximize that turn right there, knowing how big the judges want to see you go. A little bit of mistake right there, bouncy wave. So Medina did really well to fit some turns in on that really tricky face. There was a lot of bump, a lot of lump, but Medina managed to connect a bunch of times. Scores dropping, Joe. Is it going to be enough?
Gabriel Medina locking in a 6.5. Former world champ still needs a 7.74, and we're down to 1:30 on the clock. We've already had some big matchups in round 5 earlier. Nat Young took out world number 1 Matt Wilkinson. We had Julian Wilson take out Ace Buchan. And now Medina in trouble against Ferreira with 1:20. Italo with priority. Is really smart with priority, well beyond his years, and should be able to close out this matchup without a problem, Potts.
Yeah, you know, this is a very important part of the heat right now. Italo Ferreira, this is going to be good for his psyche as far as knowing that he can get the good guys on the ropes and keep them there through the entire heat. You know, obviously Medina started off with the 5.17. Italo just bettered that with a 5.5, but since then has really put the pressure on Medina. You know, you come out of heats like this with so much confidence going into the next round, just saying to yourself, look, you know, world champion, I had him against the ropes, I didn't let him off the hook, kept that pressure, kept the foot on, you know, and you come out feeling good, and that sort of continues that flow, gets you that momentum into the next round.
You were mentioning how Italo rises to the occasion when he's competing against surfers from Brazil, including his best friend Jadson Andre. He gave his good buddy a lot of trouble last season in some really crucial matchups. There's one in France where Jadson just took his jersey off in the water, said, Italo, you know what, you've got to take my jersey in for me. And then Italo literally had his number with 14 seconds to go. Last wave will be used by Italo with his priority to play some defense, and he'll celebrate with a little snap off the top. So a couple of seconds on the clock, and you see that wave growing, but it looks like it's going to be all about Ferreira. Medina will check out this left, but just a little bit too late. Big layback hack, just to show that he's still got a lot of fire in his game. Medina using this as a warm-up for Rio, as it just came a little bit too late. It's always fun and refreshing when you get to see the forehand of Medina. That hook looked insane to start.
Well, where was that wave a couple of seconds earlier? It would have been a lot different, wouldn't it, Joe? But that's the sport of surfing. That's the timing. I can't imagine how many times that's happened through the careers of surfers. And you can see Italo asking the question, was that in time? And the jet ski said, no, the win is yours. So Italo Ferreira moves through to the next round. Great surfing there from him. The single highest score of an 8.33. That's the way to do it.
Talk about a young generation battle. Italo has Kolohe Dino in quarterfinal number 3. Up next, Kiowa Belly takes on Jordy Smith here at Margaret River.
Do you like that? Well, if so, subscribe over there and then watch more videos over there. And then tell us your favorite videos down there. It's a 3-step process. Do them all now.